Nicole Kidman, you are a magnificent friend. You've got a huge heart and your loyalty is without question.
With what I've got now, I've been able to juggle things to accommodate my family.
Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban have separated. A T quote, "She's devastated and didn't want this to happen."
Incredible mom. Loving, maternal, you know. My wife, Nicole Mary, is here tonight. I love you, baby girl.
The shocker comes just 4 months after this love fest at the ACM.
Russell Crowe is being dragged into Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's split. And the word circling the most is that he gave Keith a warning. The claim was that Nicole didn't just drift away after 19 years. She allegedly confronted Keith about behavior that would end everything. And if true, that flips the story people thought they knew.
Nicole Kidman has filed for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years of marriage.
Keith and Nicole's shocking $325 million split that rocked the movie and music worlds.
For months, the common version of their split was caused by distance, his regular touring, and tight schedules. But the chatter now says there was a moment where a private line was made in the sand. Cross it, and the marriage is done. That's the headline being passed around, and it's setting the internet on fire. Here's what makes this so loud. The supposed source isn't a random insider. It's veteran actor Russell Crowe.
Nicole Kidman, you are a magnificent friend. You've got a huge heart and your loyalty is without question.
A longtime friend in their Aussie-Hollywood circle who's been close to Nicole for decades. Someone who reportedly watched this relationship grow from hello to goodbye. People hear that and stop scrolling. Because when a trusted friend allegedly breaks silence about a warning, it's not something you disregard.
On the other side of that, you are quite simply one of the greatest actresses who have ever worked in this business.
It sounds like context, and context changes everything. So what exactly is being said? It was said that Russell has allegedly told people that Nicole had a serious talk with Keith, that she spelled out what was over the line and that she gave him a chance to fix it. The word warning gets used on purpose because it does two things at once. It's serious, but it's also strategic. It hints at something real without naming an act. And that's where speculation blooms fast.
Now comes the shocking news that Keith Urban moved out of their home at the beginning of this summer and has his own place in Nashville. There's also a report that he's seeing another woman.
What we've learned is that she really has been fighting hard over the past 3 months or so to save their marriage. This isn't what she wanted.
If you're wondering why Russell's name carries weight here, it's because he and Nicole go way back. He was born in New Zealand and grew up in Australia. They attend many events and share common social circles. He didn't know this couple from magazine covers. He knew them from green rooms and dinners and backstage moments no one else saw. Friends like that notice things, what changes, and when it happens. And when they decide to speak, even indirectly, people listen. Before his name got pulled into the mix, Russell Crowe was simply a friend who'd been there since the start. Nicole says her earliest memory of him is a Wild House party in Darlinghurst, Sydney, where she tried to cook paella for a few hundred people and it turned out crunchy. They laughed, ditched the rice, and brought out the beer. That was decades ago, and the friendship never really left the room. Over the years, they kept orbiting the same projects and rooms, trading support and showing up for each other on camera and off. They even sat down together for joint interviews long before Boy Erased. When that film came along in 2018, playing a married couple felt easy because the rapport was already there. You can feel the shorthand. No rehearsal needed, just two old friends stepping into story. Then in 2020, their connection became official industry business. Crowe was named president of ACTA and Kidman vice president, a public nod to two Australians who've carried their scene for decades. That history is why people lean in when his name pops up now. It doesn't prove the whispers, but it explains why the whispers land. But let's slow down, because warning can mean two different things. It could mean Nicole discovered behavior she believed crossed the line, or it could mean the lifestyle itself had turned into a breaking point. The ambiguity is doing a lot of work here, and it's precise enough to be explosive. Timing is the loudest character in this story. The public saw happy anniversary posts in late June. Then, not long after, the headlines switched to legal filings and a decisive split. That 5 to 10 week swing is wild. A soft, romantic caption on one side, paperwork on the other. That gap invites 1,000 theories. Was there a final straw? A discovery? A last chance talk that didn't land? No document spells it out. But the calendar makes people curious. And curiosity pulls rumors like a magnet. It didn't begin with shouting. It began with paper. By late August, lawyers were already drawing the map. A parenting plan drafted and signed in stages before anyone said the word divorce out loud. That plan named Nicole the primary residential parent, with the girls scheduled 306 days a year with her and 59 with Keith every other weekend. Major decisions made together. That's not rumor. That's ink. Then the switch flipped. On September 30th, 2025, Nicole filed in Tennessee, citing irreconcilable differences, and submitted the marital dissolution agreement and the parenting plan the same day. Translation, this wasn't a public blow-up. It was a quiet, highly organized exit. Money? Clean lines. No spousal support either way. Child support prepaid and acknowledged in the paperwork. Assets largely kept separate. If you're hearing prenup, that's the subtext most outlets read in the filings. The point is speed. Tie off the loose ends, keep the mess out of court, protect the kids. What happens next is procedural, not theatrical. The court signs off, the schedule starts, both parents work the calendar. If they keep it civil, this stays a paperwork story, not a courtroom show. If anything changes, tour dates, film shoots, life, it gets handled with modifications or swaps, not headlines. That's how high-profile splits survive the spotlight. Meanwhile, the outside noise will try to fill the silence. Keith paused the show for laryngitis and vowed to make it up, so the tour is still rolling. Nicole keeps appearances measured and forward-facing. Careers continue because careers have to. The filings are the facts. Everything else is chatter until someone puts their name on the record. And with the legal pieces locked, only one question hangs in the air. Was there a final warning or just a final decision? Now, add the road. Keith's life is built around stages, buses, and arenas. Touring is pressure and temptation at scale. New city every day. New faces every night. Long stretches away from home. If you've ever tried to keep a relationship healthy across time zones, you already know. It's not proof of anything, it's context. And context matters when people ask, why now? Because even solid couples need constant maintenance under that kind of strain. Then there's history. Right after they married, Keith faced a very public battle and got help. Years later, he spoke openly about it and praised Nicole for standing firm when it counted.
My wife, Nicole Mary, is here tonight. I love you, baby girl. 4 months into our marriage, my addictions that I'd done really nothing about blew our marriage to smithereens, and I went into the Betty Ford Center. Nick pushed through every negative voice, I'm sure even some of her own, and she chose love.
Fans remember that. They remember gratitude on a big stage, the born-again tone of someone who knows he almost lost it all. So when breakup news hits nearly 2 decades later, the audience doesn't hear static. They hear echoes, old wounds, new pressure, stories that bend back on themselves. Back to Russell. The claim is not that he went on record with a tell-all. The claim is that he's been talking and that what he's saying privately lines up with a warning narrative. The idea that Nicole made the stakes clear. That's why this is catching fire. It paints Nicole not as someone who just left, but as someone who set a boundary and followed through when it was crossed. In that version, Keith is not the estranged husband. He's the one who was put on notice. Still, you can't ignore how cleanly the warning theory explains the speed. A boundary is set. The behavior doesn't change enough. The person who drew the line acts. Fast. No long periods of limbo. No public "we're working on it." Just a decisive move. Fans see that and assume certainty. They see a person who isn't negotiating feelings anymore. They see someone who already tried the last talk and made peace with the outcome. What about evidence? That's the word everyone wants, and the one almost no celebrity divorce gives you. Family filings don't recount private conversations. Friends don't publish transcripts. What surfaces are clues? The pace of legal steps, the tone of public posts, the sudden silence after months of normalcy. Clues aren't proof, but put them in a row and people start drawing arrows. That's human nature, and the internet is built to accelerate it. If you look at the public moments from the last couple of years, you'll notice a pattern fans always argue about: the split screen of public praise and private strain. One day, it's a glowing dedication from a stage. The next day, it's rumors of distance and disagreements. That whiplash doesn't mean deception. It means life. People try to speak gratitude out loud while they're still troubleshooting the hard parts in private. It's messy. It's normal. It just looks contradictory from the outside. Now, to the Russell Crowe question everyone keeps asking: why talk at all? Friends usually go silent when lawyers get involved. If he truly has been speaking, he could be protecting Nicole's reputation from a narrative that paints her as the one who walked away for no reason. A warning shifts that. It says there was a reason, a clear one. It doesn't need explicit details. It only needs a boundary and a clock. And we've already seen the clock. There's also the strategic piece. Sometimes, when you can't say something yourself, a friend says the quiet part. Not in a press conference, not in a podcast soundbite. In conversations that find their way into the slipstream. Industry chatter, dinner table recaps, a source close to. It's how modern celebrity stories move. Not with a bang, with a murmur that becomes a chorus. So where does that leave the affair word that's floating around? In the unverified box. Full stop. The internet loves that word because it's clean and dramatic. But until attached to receipts, messages, admissions, on-record quotes, it's a theory. The safer reading of warning is broader. Any behavior Nicole believed crossed a line, or a lifestyle pattern she believed would keep crossing it. The exact content of the warning is the foggiest part, and that's where most of the clicky language lives. The whispers point in three directions: someone from the tour orbit, a fellow performer who crosses paths at festivals, and an industry contact who shows up around promo runs. But here's the truth. None of those claims come with on-the-record evidence. No statements, no verified receipts, just message board echoes and a friend of a friend chatter. So we're not naming anyone. What we can say is how rumors work. First comes a vague post, then a blurry photo from backstage that could mean everything or nothing. After that, a stitched timeline, a city, a date, a coincidence turned into a conclusion. It's addictive, sure, but until someone puts a name on the claim and backs it with receipts, the ethical line is simple. Unverified stays unverified. If a warning happened, it could have been about a pattern as much as a person. Texts at wild hours, 2 clothes hangs after shows, stories that don't match. That's enough to wreck trust without ever pinning it on a single name. And if you're waiting for a list of who was involved, understand what that list would be without proof. Speculation dressed as certainty. For this channel, the rule is clean. Protect the facts, protect the people. We'll track the story, we'll update if credible on-record sources emerge, and we'll say clearly when something is just chatter. Until then, the only thing confirmed is the split and the silence around why. And that silence is the loudest clue of all. What we can say is simple. A couple celebrated a milestone. Weeks later, their story took a legal turn. The speed suggests clarity, not hesitation. The rumor adds a missing hinge. Nicole warned Keith. Whether that warning was about a specific act or a wider pattern, the effect is the same. A boundary was drawn. It wasn't respected the way it needed to be. The decision followed. And Keith? Publicly, he's balanced career and crisis the way pros do. Show up where you can, pause when you must, promise you'll make it up to fans. That's not scandal, that's survival. Voices go out. Plans collide. Life keeps happening while headlines take their shots. None of that proves anything about the marriage. It just shows a man trying to keep the wheels moving while the ground shifts under them. Nicole, for her part, has always handled the personal with a velvet rope. You get the work. You get the red carpet smile. You rarely get the raw. That's not cold, it's boundaries. And if there's a theme running through this entire story, it's that word. Boundaries in love. Boundaries with rumors. Boundaries with what the public is allowed to own. That's the line that separates a personal life from a public brand. And she's drawn it for decades. Does the warning explain everything? It explains the pace. It explains the certainty. It explains why we didn't see a long, public attempt at repair. It even explains the tone of the coverage. Crisp, careful, no mudslinging quotes from either side. When a boundary is clear, the exit can be too. But remember this, None of the Whisper Network claims are the same as on-the-record facts. Until someone attached to the relationship says the words in a setting that counts or documents surface that lay out specifics, the warning stays what it started as: a narrative that fits the timeline more than a timeline that proves the narrative. That difference matters a lot. So did Russell Crowe really reveal the hidden hinge of Nicole and Keith's breakup? The honest answer, and the only responsible one, is we don't have the verified tape. What we have is a story that slots neatly into a 5-week flip, told by people who swear they're close to the fire. Maybe that's enough for the rumor mill. It shouldn't be enough for a verdict. Here's the bottom line. If there was a warning, it says something sobering about love. It tries to stay. It draws a line. It gives a chance. And when the line gets crossed, it leaves, not loudly, not cruelly, but decisively. That's the energy of this split. A quiet kind of finale. And if there wasn't a warning, then this is simply what long marriages sometimes do. They change shape. They run out of road. Two good people face the math of time and distance and decide to let go. That's not scandal. That's human. Believe the dates. Respect the privacy. Treat everything else like what it is, a compelling story looking for receipts. If those receipts ever appear, you'll hear them. Until then, hold a line between verified and viral. It's the only way to keep real life from being eaten by the narrative.